and welcome to your Geography's online class, my dear students. Today, we will be dealing with the chapter Drainage of the first unit, the fourth chapter of your first unit, Drainage. And in this chapter, we will be discussing about rivers. When we talk about drainage, we basically mean rivers flowing in different directions and having their sources at different locations. So this is what we will be talking about in the chapter Drainage. India is a home to numerous rivers, as we understand, because of the presence of the land masses that we have, the highlands that is in form of the mountainous areas and also the plateau regions in the south. So either of these landforms has acted as the source of the rivers that flows in the low-lying region in India. So basically talking about the rivers, when we see in India, can be divided into two different kinds based on the sources. One is the Himalayan rivers and the other we can consider it to be the Peninsula Rivers or the rivers originating in the plateau. So these are the two different kinds of rivers based on the sources. Now under Himalayan rivers of the important type, we see river Yamuna, we have river Ganga, the Indus, and then we have Brahmaputra. And in similar way, Peninsula rivers are equally important as compared to the Himalayan rivers. So in Peninsula rivers, the important rivers that we find here is Mahanadi, Godavari, Krishna and Kaveri. Apart from this, in Peninsula region, there are two important rivers which flows towards the west. Those are Narmada and Tapi or Tapti. So these are the important rivers in India. Like I said, based on the sources, one is the Himalayan region, Himalayan rivers, that is the rivers that originates in the Himalayas. There are many such rivers which originates in the Himalayas, but these are the major ones that it flows. And likewise also those rivers that originates in the Peninsula region is considered to be the Peninsula rivers, and they flow mostly in the southern part. Now on the basis of the direction of the flow of the river, when we see in India, most of the rivers, they form an eastern drainage. That means the river flows from west to east. So it drains in the Bay of Bengal, hence forms the eastern drainage. While, like I said, two of the important rivers, Narmada and Tapi, these are the two rivers that forms the western drainage and hence drains in the Arabian Sea and not in Bay of Bengal. So this is completely on the basis of the direction of the flow of the river. Now, these Himalayan rivers were formed much earlier than the formation of the mountains, that is the Himalayan complex mountain system. Since they were formed much earlier than the Himalayas, on its course or during its course, whatever came their way, they eroded them and made their own path. So these rivers or the Himalayan rivers are considered to be antecedent river on the basis of the fact that they cut the Himalayas into deep gorges and kept flowing in their own path without being obstructed. This is to mean that Himalayas was formed much later and these rivers had been flowing on their course. They were draining themselves into the Tethys Sea then, some 60 million years ago, before the formation of the Himalayas. And the drainage that formed in the Tethys Sea or the sediments that were deposited in the Tethys Sea evolved to form the Himalayas of the present time. During the formation, these rivers kept on flowing continuously on their course, and hence they cut the Himalayas into at several points, forming deep gorges and valleys, and thus they are considered to be antecedent river. While Peninsula River is known as consequent river, because Peninsula region are mostly formed of hard rocks which cannot be very easily eroded. Hence, owing to the slope of the land with the formation of the plateaus, owing to the slope of the land, the rivers started flowing likewise towards the east, as because we see that the Peninsula region is higher in the west than as compared to the east. So the flow of the river was towards the eastern direction. So this is how we understand that the rivers of Himalayan region are considered to be antecedent, while Peninsula region is considered to be the consequent river. Now the Himalayan region, which is mostly formed of river Ganga, Indus and Brahmaputra, as though Yamuna also originates in the Himalayan region but forms a major tributary of river Ganga. So with its main river and the tributary together, the Himalayan river forms three major systems. One, as of river Ganga, along with its tributaries, forms the Ganga system. Indus, along with its 5 tributaries, forms the Indus system or Indus drainage system. And Brahmaputra, with its tributaries in the far east of eastern India, it forms its own system. So these three, the Ganga river system or the Ganga drainage system, the Indus drainage system, and the Brahmaputra drainage system. Of these three, let's first discuss the Indus and its tributaries, forming the drainage that drains themselves into the Bay of Bengal after flowing for a considerable length in the country, that is India. It enters into Pakistan, and from Pakistan it goes on to drain itself in Bay of Bengal. The 5 major tributaries of river Indus is Satluj, Ravi, Beas, Jhelum and Chenab. So these are the 5 important tributaries of river Indus, which meets river Indus on its right bank, but not in India, but rather they meet in Pakistan. So these 5 major tributaries have mostly originated in the outshoots of the Himalayan range of the Himachal and Uttarakhand mountain systems. While the Indus has its origin in Tibetan areas where there is a lake named Mansarovar Lake, and from there the river Indus originates and moves westward before entering to Pakistan. So while moving westward from Mansarovar Lake, the river Indus flows through the entire part of the Kashmir Valley, or the Jammu region and Kashmir region, and enters Pakistan from there. The 5 important tributaries of river Indus, like I said, it's Jhelum, Chenab, Ravi, Beas and Satluj, each having their origin in India in the mountainous areas of Himachal Pradesh and Uttarakhand. From there, they flow westward and joins river Indus in Pakistan, forming the right bank tributaries. All of these rivers are equally important in terms of formations of the alluvial plains in the regions of Punjab. So these 5 tributaries along with river Indus forms the Indus drainage system. The next is river Ganga and its tributaries. Ganga has its source in the Gangotri glaciers of the Himalayas and is considered to be the idle river in India. In fact, it's the longest river in India with a total length of 2,525 kilometers from its source till its mouth. It flows to that lengthy distance and is been joined by various of its tributaries on either of the bank. Out of these tributaries, the Yamuna is considered to be the important tributary which joins on the right bank of river Ganga. They have a meeting point which is also very much considered sacred as per the Hindus or as per Hindu mythology. So this place where they meet, Sangam, it is what is called, is in the place called Allahabad. While Ganga flows to a length of 2525 kilometers, a total length, it's considered to be an idle river because it completes the entire courses from its source, that is from its mountainous areas. It enters the plains where the middle course of the river is been completely carried out, and finally river Ganga drains itself into Bay of Bengal where it is considered to be in its lower course. So it completes 3 courses of its entire journey: the upper course in the mountainous areas, the middle course in the undulating plains, and finally the lower course at the mouth of the river. And that is very closer to the mouth, or that is very close to the open water bodies where it drains themselves. River Ganga along with river Brahmaputra and their tributaries have formed the largest delta in the world, which is named as Sundarbans Delta. River Ganga is also joined by river Kosi, Gandak in the left bank tributaries, and this Kosi and Gandak and Ghagra, 3 of the important rivers, happens to flow through the Nepal Himalayas and enters India in the states of Bihar and Uttar Pradesh and joins river Ganga. The chief characteristic of river Kosi, Gandak is of shifting their course. Because of heavy sedimentations in their course, they keep on shifting their course, that is changing their flow, and hence results in huge floods to be caused in the northern plains. While the Brahmaputra river system is mostly formed by river Brahmaputra and its tributaries like Dihang, Dibang, Dhansiri. So these all rivers, they join river Brahmaputra and adds to the volume of the water. And this is also one of the reasons why Brahmaputra, which flows through the Assam Valley, keeps on flooding almost every year in the region, in the low-lying regions of Assam. So these are the 3 river systems of the Himalayan region. Now coming to the Peninsula region, the river system is formed by river Mahanadi, Godavari, Krishna and Kaveri. Mahanadi flows, it originates in the Western Ghats and flows towards the east across the states of Odisha and finally drains in Bay of Bengal. It also forms a delta in its course, in its lower course or in its mouth. The Godavari is the important river that flows in the peninsular India and is the longest river in the south, and hence is known as Dakshin Ganga. That means the river Ganga of south. It is because it is the longest river of the southern India. It flows with a total length of 1465 kilometers in its entire course and also forms a delta in its mouth. The other 2 rivers, Krishna and Kaveri, flows through Karnataka and Andhra Pradesh, and one from Tamil Nadu region, and finally drains into Bay of Bengal, forming the eastern drainage system. While the other 2 rivers, that is Narmada and Tapi, which flows to the west, happens to flow through the rift valley of India between Vindhyas and Satpuras, and this river system that we see as Narmada and Tapi forms the western drainage and drains themselves into Arabian Sea. But unlike the east flowing river, the west flowing river in form of Narmada and Tapi do not form any kind of deltas, as because they flow through the steep slopes of the Western Ghats and finally enters into the Arabian Sea. Apart from these Himalayan and the Peninsula rivers, the major rivers in fact, there are also other peninsular rivers which neither flows to the Arabian Sea nor drains themselves into Bay of Bengal. They are Betwa, Son and Chambal. Rivers Betwa, Son and Chambal, they join river Yamuna as its tributary before joining with river Ganga. Before merging with river Ganga, the Yamuna is joined by three important rivers that flows from peninsular India towards the northern plains, and they are Betwa, Son and Chambal. During its course, Chambal in specific, it carves out deep ravines in the areas of Chambal region and thus forming the badland topography. Now these ravines or gullies are the cut-off parts of the land masses or landforms which is mostly carved out because of heavy rainfall caused in that particular area with the flowing of the rivers at various directions. And those very deep ravines or gullies that have been carved out by river Chambal during its course results in the formation of badland topography. We call it a badland topography because neither can it be utilized for agricultural purpose nor for human habitations. So this is why it's known as badland topography. Like we discussed, the difference between the Himalayan rivers and the Peninsula Rivers in the very first point, that the Himalayan Rivers is an antecedent river while the Peninsula River is a consequent river. And we already discussed what antecedent and consequent is. Apart from this, the Himalayan rivers covers a larger area as they are numerous in numbers. While the southern peninsula rivers, they are less in numbers and covers less areas. So in other words, you can say the catchment area of peninsula rivers is less as compared to the Himalayan rivers. The Himalayan rivers are long rivers than as compared to the peninsula rivers. And also the Himalayan rivers, since they originate in the snow-clad mountains, they are perennial in nature. While peninsula rivers, since they are mostly rain-fed rivers, they are considered to be non-perennial rivers. The Himalayan rivers, also on the other points, we can find that the Himalayan rivers, since they flow through the softer rocks of the Himalayas, they have carved the Himalayas into deep gorges and valleys. While the peninsula rivers, since they flow through the harder rock materials, which is mostly made up of igneous in origin, the peninsula region, here there is no such deep valleys and gorges that have been cut by the rivers. So this is all about the chapter drainage. Thank you, and you all have a very good time.